AskReddit by forum mod. Who was actually the worst president ever? Pol Pot. He sure was the worst of the worst. Ferdinand Marcos basically starved our nation and killed and tortured a lot of people during the martial law. And the damn people still elected his son to be the current president. And probs every single president in the PH. Edit, yeah, Filipinos aren't the best at electing leaders LMAO. Edit 2, to those who still defend the guy because of economic prosperity. Even if that were true, does that even justify the blood of Filipinos? I'm supposed to type Marcos, but I'm glad someone has the same idea as I do. Dude fucked our country with debt that people are still gonna pay till 2025. And here comes the Marcos Jr. gonna make sure Filipinos will pay for his parties and vacations for generations. Assuming president just means leader of a country, not counting Hitler, easily Pol Pot. Just supremely evil, and his actions go under the radar because it happened in country the West rarely thinks about. Ike. Pol Pot holds the WR speed run for dropping average life expectancy to under 20 years old. And heaven forbid you wear glasses. Robert Mugabe, probably. A pretty good rundown here. https://money.cnn.com/2017/1/20/Zimbabwe-economy/Robert-Mugabe-resigns/index.html close bracket dart. Got a friend of mine who was shot as a kid when his family farm was seized by Mugabe followers. His mum, dad, sister and youngest brother were shot too and left for dead. His youngest brother, 3 at the time, did not survive. Harrowing story. Farm murders weren't uncommon under Mugabe's tenure. The fact that this man lived out his later years in great wealth and free from conviction due to diplomatic immunity is simply criminal. Idi Amin. This article about a Uganda nation family's return to visit was worth a read. Can you feel it? This is Uganda 50 years after fleeing Idi Amin. My family sees home on our own. My dad actually saw Idi Amin when he was on a trip to Saudi Arabia in the 80s. He said it was really surreal to see a dictator in person. Edit, if you hit a paywall, here's a similar article 129,671. Steve, senior high-class president, class of 1992. You ran on a platform of getting porno mags in the school library. It's been 30 years, Steve. There are still no porno mags in the school library. Steve, I voted for you, dude. You had one job. One promise. Ferdinand Marcos. What baffles me so much is, his fucking son got elected. People are definitely stupid. The president of my hoa. I hate that bitch too, and I don't even know them. John Tyler is rarely mentioned, but he gets my vote. I'm reading his biography right now. He is the only US president who renounced his American citizenship after leaving office in order to join a nation making war on the United States. He literally committed treason after leaving office. Don't let his grandsons hear you say that. Idi Amin was a real nasty prick. He never really got his comeuppance either. Lived in luxury to the end of his days. President Scroob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage. I drop this line all the time and just get blank stares. So disappointing. Deleted. Sorts by controversial. Eater. I'm gonna stick to American presidents because that's where my strongest understanding of history is. But I'd go with James Buchanan. He was the guy before Lincoln while tensions between states were increasing rapidly, and instead of actually doing anything he just kinda let everything boil over. I think you can also make a good argument for Andrew Johnson. His ridiculous Reconstruction plan highly contributed to Jim Crow and the worst of segregation. He was a widely disliked person and avoided conviction after being impeached by a single vote. I think a strong argument can be made for James Buchanan. He literally let the United States fall apart on his watch and took no action. By some accounts he even shipped arms supplies south so the rebels could seize them. By all accounts it was too late for him to do anything anyways. He was basically elected to be a martyr for the catalyst of the Civil War. Great Thanksgiving conversation starters. Yolanda Saldivar. She was the president of Selena Quintanilla's fan club. She murdered Selena Quintanilla in 1995. Gianni Infantino, president of FIFA. Today I feel gay. https://yahoo.be/zy9jax9raba?57 Who can pick just one? History is full of bad leaders. Andrew Johnson torpedoed Reconstruction and firmly entrenched civil rights issue in a prebellum era. We are still fighting our way out of that. At least Buchanan was only pitifully weak. Johnson was actively determined to ruin shit. Not a president, but King Leopold II of Belgium. This guy's arguably up there with Hitler and Pol Pot. I will spare the details. If you want the details, read King Leopold's Ghost, really good book about the Belgian control of the Congo. Pol Pot. My college drama club president. Dude was in charge of a pizza party and he messed it up bad. We all ended up only getting one slice each. The president of drama club creates drama so rich that people still talk about his pizza party years later. And X200B. Shocking. The guy before O.J. Abraham Lincoln. James Buchanan. You can basically blame him for the Civil War. How did O.J. get into this discussion? Let me tell you about Jacob Zuma. Go ahead, dude. Probably Andrew Johnson. Dude fucked up Reconstruction so bad we still feel the effects today. This is my vote. People maybe say Buchanan for allowing the Civil War to happen, but really it was going to happen at some point either way. A better president would have delayed it, not prevented it. Andrew Johnson fucked up Reconstruction so bad and led to so mucus racial discrimination and inequality, which is the fundamental cause of all the racial tension in the US ever since. The president of my cricket club embezzled funds for the end of year trip for their gambling habit. That's not cricket. For American presidents there's a good argument to be made for Franklin Pierce. People blame Buchanan for the Civil War, but as many others have pointed out, it was probably inevitable by that point. Why was it inevitable? Franklin fucking Pierce. His passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act led to violent skirmishes in the New Territory, an era often called Bleeding Kansas. Combined with his enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act, he inflamed the growing conflict between the North and the South. He was so massively unpopular that his party did not renominate him for the next presidential election, leading to Buchanan and then the Civil War. Bleeding Kansas had such a significant impact. If we're talking us, Andrew Johnson is pretty inarguably the worst. Fumbled Reconstruction so badly that none of the problems the Civil War was fought over got solved and sowed the seeds for the racial and cultural disharmony that still exists today. Fumbled? You mean purposely destroyed Reconstruction? Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Runner-up, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Second runner-up, Joseph Estrada, or Gloria Arroyo, depends on who you ask. Emerging terrible president, Bongbong Marcos Jr. Dart. Geez, we have such an abundance of crappy presidents in the Philippines. Serious question. What do you think of Corazon Aquino? Nixon committed treason in order to prolong the Vietnam War before he even got elected. Watergate is more well known but less of a crime, really. What makes Watergate so funny is that it was completely unnecessary. Nixon was bossing the election, and had Watergate not happened he likely would be remembered as one of the better presidents of the post-war era. To everyone saying any of the recentest presidents, none of you are considering that all of them were saints in comparison to Pol Pot, Ferdinand Marcos, or basically any other one of the popular answers on this post. I'd argue every US president is probably better than some of these people. As a non-American, I'm happy that you people have never had to see this shit. Coming from a descendant of Khmer Rouge refugees and currently in Hong Kong. Nixon was no joke. Hunter S. Thompson seemed to sum him up quite well. The tangled rat fuck that is contemporary US politics can be traced back to Nixon. The book Nixonland does an excellent job of detailing how, but TLDR, rather than rising above and trying to unite the American public in the wake of the civil rights movement, Nixon, through his Southern strategy, exploited racial grievances for political gain. Andrew Jackson engineered several genocides to make room for more slavery. Ever? Andrew Johnson. God killed Abraham Lincoln so I could become president.